Hey, how are you? Kumusta po kayo? And thanks for tuning in to another edition of Paul Presents Art. My name is Paul and I'll be your guide today. And today I'm just cycling around Vancouver and I happened upon a new gallery that's not familiar to me called Fingerprint Gallery, just right here. We're gonna go inside and have a look at some paintings and some sculptures by Gurl 23, who is an Anishinaabe artist as well as a graffiti artist. So I hope you can join me for the tour and let's do it. I also want to add that this video was recorded in Vancouver, Canada, which is built on the unceded and ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We'll continue by doing a pan of the show from the outside going in, and here's a short bio on the artist. Larissa Healy, known as Gurl 23, is a multi-talented Indigenous two-spirited artist of Anishinaabe descent. For over 35 years, Gurl 23 has used elements of her Indigenous culture with visual and physical art, ranging from 60s scoop graffiti culture, hip-hop, rap, pop culture, mural art, and graffiti. Gurl 23's art demonstrates the integrity, strength, talent, and persistence of overcoming a life of being marginalized while living with a non-visible disability. If you're new to the channel, please know that this channel is about art, exhibitions in contemporary, historical, and outsider art, group shows, art collections, etc. I live in Vancouver, Canada, so most of my videos will be based in that region, but I'll cover exhibitions as I travel. The first work is a sculpture we encountered outside, titled Toy Battle, acrylic paint and fiberglass. You'll notice that I'm sharing the text panels accompanying each work. I feel it's important to share that point of view, and the artist was very generous in doing this, so feel free to pause the video to read the text, and I'll continue giving you some commentary about the work. For this sculpture, the artist mentioned the work of KAWS, which is often associated with skateboard culture, but more importantly, aspects of the urban nomadic, which I'll talk about a bit later. This next work is titled Apprehension, acrylic paint and marker on canvas. So what the fuck is going on? I took that from the artist's text that visually references the 1930s Walt Disney short animated film Little Hiawatha. I mean, the expression on the little guy is obvious, a sense of foreboding, looking back like someone's stalking him. The title of this show, Scoop 60, refers to a time in recent history of the large-scale removal or scooping of Indigenous children from their homes and offered for adoption to non-Indigenous families in the United States and Canada, resulting in a lost sense of cultural identity. We'll continue that dialogue as we go along. This next work is History Repeats Itself, acrylic and spray paint on canvas. A few of the works in the show references other works of art in the past and speaks about history's relationship to Indigenous culture, or parallels how the so-called victors of war have written their political agendas or points of view onto official historical accounts. Peter Paul Rubens' Massacre of the Innocents is the subject of two paintings painted around 1610 about the biblical story in the Gospel of Matthew where King Herod ordered the massacre of male children under the age of 2 in Bethlehem. By referencing and reworking Rubens' painting, Gurl 23, in my view, is actively decolonizing an historical reference in order to take back agency from those who took it away. Next is 50,000, acrylic paint, markers, upcycled foam, and polyurethane, which, according to the text panel, references the approximately 50,000 children apprehended during the 60s scoop. The treatment of the work, using a restrained color palette of grays, whites, and blacks, heightens the red color on the skull, signifying blood to what looks like a handprint. I think the overall three-dimensional texture of the skull and the bones gives a graphic urgency to the issue of genocide. Also, the addition of graffiti, which is often accorded a street vibe, allows us to see this issue as an everyday occurrence, where war, death, and suspension of human rights has become the norm rather than the exception. And the power of an authoritarian political agenda shouldn't be underestimated. Next we have the illegal sickness, recycled print, markers, acrylic, and spray paint. And from a purely aesthetic level, there's a kitsch quality to this painting, like reworking a velvet painting of Elvis or an Indian chief, so to speak. When an image reaches the level of kitsch, it also achieves a level of ubiquity, even infamy, where the seriousness of a topic has been downplayed to the level of a joke. The political strategy of downplaying cultures has been used to misrepresent minority communities of the Black, Afro-Caribbean, Asian, and First Nations populations. And this next work is titled Food is Poisoning Us, acrylic and spray paint on canvas, and was part of a larger commissioned mural for Canada's 150th anniversary of Confederation in 2017. In my opinion, this work and another in the exhibition is referencing Norval Morrisseau, a member of the Anishinaabe First Nations and considered the grandfather of contemporary Indigenous art. The work also creates a contemporary dialogue with youth in general, with a depiction of a baseball cap, headphones, and a fast food diet of burgers, fries, and pop. Traditional Indigenous spirituality is also referenced through the figure on the right, wearing a totemic headgear, which, according to the text panel, depicts a bright spirit guiding the youth from harmful vices. We're approaching the next work, titled Life or Death: Wood, Foam Can, Glue, Plaster, Spray, and Acrylic Paint, which is a predominantly monochromatic work in white. Taking the title into account, the work conjures up dichotomies and extremes of light and dark, of life and death, where the white paint represents the light and the shadow the darkness. I find the exploded can rather symbolic in how it was fashioned, conjuring up either a jester's hat or an imperial crown, and in my opinion, both referencing varying levels of power, the jester representing the lowest and the crown being the highest. And they represent colonial power at different levels, but the jester is often the truth-sayer in these cases, where the truth is often masked as a joke. Next we move on to this painting, titled Love, Paint Pen, Markers, Acrylic and Spray Paint. This painting has personal significance to Gurl 23, as it represents her heritage, her familial connections, and the healing process from being a child of the 60s scoop. Dealing with the loss of community, culture, family, heritage, and language takes its toll on our capacity to live and survive. The journey seems longer and the emotional challenges endless, yet we persevere through new connections, new discoveries, and in Gurl 23's case, art. This painting successfully marries graffiti with her Indigenous roots. The green turtle representing Turtle Island in the spirit world, the three birds in the center representing family, and the two humans embracing each other in consolation. The next two works are predominantly graffiti-style works in the show. This one is titled Gurl 23, Acrylic and Spray Paint on Canvas, and the piece that follows is a triptych titled Savage, Acrylic and Spray Paint with Markers on Upcycled Canvas. I'm pretty useless when it comes to graffiti-style artworks, so I will rely on the text panels to explain these two pieces. I should, however, comment on works that influenced graffiti style from a contemporary art perspective. The most notable collaboration is between Jean-Michel Basquiat and Al Diaz in the 1980s, both New York-based artists who slathered the walls of New York City with their now famous Samo sayings. Basquiat ultimately became an international art star, with exhibitions worldwide, until his sudden passing in 1988. But the integration between graffiti style and Indigenous art is something worth expanding on, which I'll do so in a bit. And the last work in the show is a sculptural installation titled Express from Nothing That Means Everything. Screen print, foam, mixed media, acrylic paint. When I first entered the gallery and started to explore the exhibition, the world of graffiti art and Indigenous culture collided in collaboration with each other. And that got me thinking on how graffiti culture is a visual language that marks and acknowledges territories, and how Indigenous culture is a community of land defenders. Both cultures respect the land, and neither colonize the land through private ownership, but rather through a shared respect for what the land and the environment offers, and how that same environment nurtures their respective cultures. It's symbiotic and community engaged, in my opinion. and I think we can learn a thing or two about the collaborative process. And for the artist, both graffiti and Indigenous culture were means for her to heal and to move forward with her life in art. And I think that's a good place to leave things. I hope you enjoyed this tour of Larissa Healy, also known as Gurl 23's exhibition here at Fingerprint Gallery. If you'd like to share your thoughts, observations, questions, please do so in the comment section below. That would be great. Click the like button and be sure to subscribe to the channel. It's free, and as a non-monetized channel, subscribing achieves visibility and creates added awareness of the artist and the gallery. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Thank you for joining me today. Have a great day, and I hope art continues to inform your life. Tune in again next time for more art-related videos. Goodbye!